Every morning, she showed up to school wrapped in a coat that didn't match the season. The kind of coat that made you feel cold just looking at it. They called her May, quiet, thin, the kind of girl who faded into the background, like the frost on windows before the sun came out. She sat near the back of the classroom, hands folded neatly in her lap, never asking for anything. But in winter, everyone noticed. Not her voice, or her grades, or the way she stared too long out the window during spelling tests. They noticed her coat. It was faded pink, with stuffing peeking out of the seams and buttons that didn't match. Too short in the sleeves, too thin for December. At recess, while others ran out in puffed jackets and fleece-lined hoods, May stood by the fence, rubbing her hands together, trying to pretend she wasn't shivering. No one asked her why. Not the teachers, not the kids. They looked, but only just long enough to feel sorry, not long enough to feel guilty. Except for Edward. He wasn't a loud kid either. He'd once given up his spot in line just so someone else wouldn't feel left out. The kind of boy who looked, really looked. And he saw May, saw her knuckles red with cold, her breath puffing in little clouds, her smile tight like it hurt. One afternoon, after school, Edward went home and did something strange. He took out the piggy bank his grandma gave him on his 5th birthday, the one shaped like a dinosaur, and smashed it open. Coins spilled across the carpet. Quarters, dimes, a couple crumpled bills. It wasn't much, but it was enough. At the thrift store, he found a coat. It wasn't new, but it was thick and warm, with a hood lined in faux fur and sleeves that would actually reach May's wrists. He wrapped it in brown paper and left it on her desk the next morning with no note. When May saw it, she just stared. She didn't ask where it came from. She didn't smile. May didn't wear the coat, nor the day after, nor the one after that. It was back in her bag, folded neatly, never mentioned. Edward was confused. Maybe she didn't like it. Maybe she felt embarrassed. But then, that Friday, something happened. Edward stayed after school to make up a test. As he left, he saw May walking ahead of him, holding hands with her mother. They looked alike, except her mom moved slower. Her mother had shoes on that were too tight and no coat. Edward watched as May slipped something into her mother's arms. It was the coat. Her mother hesitated, almost as if to say no. "Here," she said quietly. "It's warm." Her mother shook her head. "But it's yours. You need it." May's voice barely carried in the cold air. But May just smiled gently and helped her into it, pulled the zipper up to her chin like she'd done it 100 times. May's mom said, "I had a coat before, remember? I didn't want you to know that I had to sell it to buy you new shoes." When the soles split open, her mother looked down. "I knew," May said. "I saw you walking to work in just your sweater. It fits you better anyway." They stood there for a moment, just a girl and her mom, in the quiet, bitter dusk. Neither said, "Thank you." Neither had to. Later, May would tell herself, a coat is just a coat, but a mother who walks to work in the freezing cold so you can wear new shoes, that's not just anything. Edward had given her something kind, but kindness, May believed, was meant to be passed on, like warmth, like light, like love. That's when he understood. The coat he gave to May, she gave away because the warmth we feel sometimes comes from someone else's cold.